Right, welcome back to the RC Pilot's Log. Let's see if we can get this DC-3 done and airborne sometime this summer. It's fair to say the project has stalled over the recent weeks. With the ease of lockdown here in the UK, I was able to get out flying, which was a very exciting prospect, and the weather was perfect for it. So I got some good time flying the Vampire, which I ended up crashing and subsequently repairing. That was a very sorry state of affairs, and it flies again now, but it's just not quite the same. I was also donated a couple of models, including a Roby airliner, which I'm converting to an EDF jet. So things have taken a little bit of a sidestep with the DC-3. I was also waiting for some props to be delivered. These are some 7x4 3-blade series from Master Airscrew. They are the biggest I'm going to get on here. The clearance is so tight against the fuselage. I wouldn't want to be using any other brand prop other than Master Airscrew, because these are just the best for me. They're my favourite props by far. They're the highest quality. They're dynamically balanced at the factory for most of the range, and I've never had a balance problem with them. And I think they're just super high quality. So much so that I requested quite a lot of props from Master Airscrew, which they have sent through, and there's enough here for several projects. I've got some of their 3-blade FPV racing series here that I could try on the DC-3. These are 6x4.5, I think, for that 3-blade series there. I've got the 7x4s that are currently on there. 2 pairs of 9x7s, counter-rotating and normal rotation, and then an extra set of the 3-blade 7x4s. These here I'm very excited to use in an upcoming project. It's going to be a big project. It's going to be a Bristol Brabazon. That's a fascinating aircraft. If you haven't heard about it or seen it, then definitely check out some of the videos on YouTube. I'm hoping to build a nice big one with about a 3-metre wingspan, scaled specifically to these props. So that's going to be a really interesting project. Very ambitious. I like ambitious projects, which is why I'm building this DC-3 from scratch. This is turning into quite a big task, I think, and I'm borderline doubtful if it's going to actually take off. Every time I touch it, it's getting heavier. I think thrust is marginal on these motors. I may need to go to 4-cell motors, which will require new motors, because these are only rated to 3 cells. And yeah, every time I touch it, it feels heavier every time. So we're going to have to watch this space and see how we get on. Master Airscrew haven't sponsored me. This isn't a sponsorship deal. This was just a very kind gesture by their team during what is a difficult time for the hobby and for everyone around the world. So I really appreciate Master Airscrew helping me out with some props. So the task today is the elevator. I was having trouble in the last video linking the elevator together, and during the frustrations I managed to damage it. I had linked with a piece of wire, U-bent wire, trying to link the two surfaces, caused too much damage to the elevators, so I've removed them. I'm going to rebuild them and try and use quite an old school method to link 2 push rods to get the elevator working correctly. While the glue is drying on the laminated elevator control surfaces, I'm going to glue in the hinges into the tailplane. I used CA before and they pulled out far too easy, so I'm going to use some Araldite epoxy, 5-minute epoxy, just to glue those in. And a drop of 3-in-1 oil on the hinge pins will stop it sticking to those and seizing them up. while the elevator hinges and control surfaces are gluing, I'm going to start thinking about recreating the nose, which, if you remember a few episodes back, I cut off in favour of making a blue styrofoam nose. I had initially intended to make it out of some round carved sections and build up the profile that way, but what I think might work better is to do two halves as a 2D profile, cut to that profile there, and then round it off according to the templates. That might work out easier than trying to do it as one 3D piece. Certainly going to be a lot easier to make it symmetrical. It's starting to take a little bit of shape. Trying to establish the cheeks. It's kind of got quite defined cheeks on the nose of the DC-3. Working on the top, and then we'll take the profile for the underside and round that. But as you can see, it's quite tricky to keep it symmetrical. I need to do a bit more work on this side to bring that down and round. I don't think it's going to be very scale, but it will look the part. And that's the important bit. I thought I'd epoxy the nose on because it came off with the super glue, and I walked away and I left it, and it's sunk. It's now stuck on lopsided, and it's pretty firmly on there. So let's see if we can get it off without destroying it. Ah, dear. So while the nose is going back on, I've started work on the elevators, and essentially just started tapering the trailing edge of them. I'll do more once they're fitted so that I can get it blended in nicely before gluing them on, but I've just marked the location of the hinges by placing the control surface underneath, marking on either side of the hinge, and then following that mark around onto the leading edge. And then what I can do is just open up a slot in between the centre two layers. Do that for both sides and they will slide on quite nicely, and then I can start shaping them. Considering the linkage steel, I think what I'm going to do is go for something similar to that on the back of this Roby airliner, where the linkages are actually two push rods joined together. And this actually operates very, very well. There's a little bit of tension there, unwanted tension, but for kind of a small control surface in a small plane, I think that's going to be absolutely fine. This works well, so what I can do is bend up a smaller push rod that links over to the main push rod, and then use the collet to adjust either side to get them equal. So that is the current plan. Whether that works or not, we'll see. What I'll do now is insert some control horns on the underside, get them positioned, link the push rod up, and see if we can get it to actuate from the servo, get them balanced out and equal. Just realised I've run out of control horns, so while I'm just 3D printing another pair, it's back on with the nose. Okay, well, I think the nose is mostly there. It looks a little bit odd to me, maybe it's just the scale, but I don't know that I'm going to get it any better like this. I shortened the nose a fair bit because it was looking quite pointy, and I know the DC-3s are very rounded noses. I'm quite happy with that. Right, I think I've finally got the elevator working in a way that I'm pleased with. Didn't quite go to plan. I didn't link them external. I didn't link them with a linkage as I thought. I actually ended up doing what I probably should have done at the start and linking them with a block of balsa between the two and cutting into the fuselage tail section to give me movement operating range. So they're linked with that piece of balsa. It seems to work very well, certainly good enough for now, and hopefully will be good enough in flight. So I'm really pleased with that. That's out of the way. It's not the neatest solution, and it's not the best design. It's very much an afterthought, but it's working. And that's good. I've got good travel and good throws on it. So now it's just a case of planking in the tail section to strengthen that up a bit more, and then it will be ready for taking up to the field and seeing if it will get airborne. I'm not too worried about a canopy at the moment, although I will probably find a way of just temporarily sticking that on, whether that's just with some masking tape or something for the first flight. Because I don't really want to pile much more time and effort and possibly money into it unless it shows good signs that it's going to fly. With this power setup at least, I would expect to get off the ground even if it's just a hop. So hopefully the next time you see it, it will have a fully enclosed tail section, and we'll be at the field ready to give it a test. So thanks for watching. Please do subscribe, like and share the video. Thanks for staying tuned for this project. Sorry there's been a bit of a delay, and I look forward to showing you it in the air, hopefully in the coming days.